And today we do have a voting presentation, and we'll send out the link for the vote later in the meeting. With that, we'll start with our public safety announcement. Is anybody from Sergeant Cintolo or Officer Domenico or Officer Mosley here?
Yep, Officer Domenico is here.
Awesome. So I'll leave it to you now.
Thank you. Sergeant Cintolo is on vacation this week. He won't be back until probably next Monday. So good couple of things here. Nothing big up in Orient Heights, but in East Boston in general, we've had a uptick in the firearms and shooting incidents in the last 6 weeks. Last week on Border Street, we had a couple of people shot on Border and White Street, and they refused to cooperate with the police. They were not local residents here. We had a shooting last night down on Liverpool Street, and we had one on Bremen Street last week, and probably about 5-6 weeks ago, we had one up the Heights on the high numbers of Saratoga at Wadsworth Street. Now, incidents like this, we usually do not see incidents like this in East Boston, so it's a good sign. The commercial breaks, they're up. They usually occur on the overnight hours. We have a few of them up the Heights. Both Dunkin' Donuts were hit. One was hit up 1150 Saratoga. I mean, the high numbers of Saratoga, and the other one was hit in Day Square. Also, I guess the law office at 1140 Saratoga Street, there was a commercial break there last week. The car breaks and the catalytic converter thefts, they continue. The car breaks are mostly people leaving things visible in the cars and the doors unlocked. So try to keep it, anything visible, put them in the trunk and keep your doors locked. It's just an invitation for these kids to steal things out of your cars. The store larcenies are up. Shaw's, Marshalls, CVS have been getting hit. We a lot of people have been calling on. We had a body found up in the Orient Heights section around the 1100 Benson Street, way behind the Cash Company. That body has yet to be ID'd. State police are investigating. It was badly decomposed when they found it. I guess it was found by a worker up there. Also, we've seen an increase in the public drinking. We've issued citations, and a couple of warrants are issued for the public drinking. So traffic enforcement has been up significantly in East Boston. Several criminal complaints and a couple of arrests have been made as a result of the traffic stops. Last week I guess we had a pretty good drug arrest up in the Brandywine area. We had a local resident placed under arrest. He was in possession of 40 grams of cocaine. The accidents have decreased. Beginning of the year, we had a lot of traffic accidents, mostly in the high numbers of Bennington and Saratoga streets and the McCullough Highway. But that seems to settle down a bit. There's been no street robberies, which is a good sign. A couple of warrant arrests have been made. One at higher numbers in Benson Street, and the other one up in Crestview Road. Want to keep an eye on the parks. A lot of kids are in the parks now playing baseball and softball and soccer. Just if you drive by them, just try to slow down. So hopefully none of them get hit. And we've started our bicycle patrols. You're mostly going to see them in the Maverick and Central Square area and along the Greenway. So if you see them driving around the bikes in the area, just stop and say hi and let them know if anything's going on. And that's about it.
Thank you for that. Are there any comments or questions people have at this time? I see, Gail, you have your hand raised. Do you want to go ahead and speak?
Yes, thank you. I just want to elaborate on the poor soul found at the Belle Isle Marsh Reservation. He was a long-term homeless fellow, even though the nice, kindly staff at DCR did attempt on numerous occasions to try to get him housing and all that. but he just preferred to be out there in the natural world. A rather gentle soul, and it was a birder that actually found him. So yeah, and that's about it. But yeah, he was known to the the staff at DCR. I just didn't want anyone to think it was some kind of other crazy, putting a body there that somebody had disposed of, and but anyway, that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gail.
Yes, thank you. Anybody else? I don't see hands raised. I don't see anything else in the comment. Give maybe 5 to 7 more seconds here. All right, I don't see anything else. So thank you so much, officer, for the update.
All right, guys, have a good night.
We'll go ahead and move on with our agenda. Tonight we have a presentation from Cargo Ventures. And I don't know if Jake Citron is going to do it or Mary, if you're going to do it.
Thank you. This is Jacob. I'll do the majority of the presentation, but I'm joined by Pat Capogreco and Mary tonight.
And you're welcome to share your screen.
Wonderful. Thank you. And does everyone see the first of the slides? So again, I'm Jacob Citron and joined by Mary Berninger and Pat Capogreco this evening. This is intended to be an update on our development plans for properties we own on McClellan Highway. This overall aerial shows the zone and the properties marked in white. While we don't own or control all of that, certainly the large majority. This is a close-up on that area in white, and all of the properties in blue are what we currently own or control. The most recent addition to our ownership is this 580 Chelsea building, which is an existing industrial building, been occupied by various airport-related logistics companies for about 15 years, and we acquired the leasehold on just the building itself just a couple of weeks ago. Tonight, what I'd like to do is update everyone on our plans for redevelopment in this zone here at 605 Chelsea, 160 McClellan, and then to a certain extent at 580. And then we'll move up McClellan Highway and talk about our plans for the 230 through 370 properties, and then the 440 through 480 properties. Focusing in now on 160 and 605. 605 is the old abandoned MWRA pump house that was sold for surplus about 10 years ago, I believe. We acquired it about 5. 160 McClellan is a late 1970s vintage single-story industrial building that we acquired back in 2003. And then across Chelsea Street is that 580 Chelsea building, originally developed by ExxonMobil and was used in connection with the terminal back in 2006 timeframe, I believe, is when Exxon's successor, Sunoco, entered into a long-term master lease of the entire building since it was excess. They did not need it. And we acquired that leasehold from the developer that repositioned the building. These are some images of the existing 160 McClellan building, which is, again, here, existing warehouse. This little round building is what we call the new MWRA pump house, which was developed and is what led to this old pump house being surplus. These are some images of the exterior and interior of that old pump house building. It's a 100-plus-year-old historic building. And then these are some images of the 580 Chelsea building. Our plans with respect to 580 are relatively minor, given the terms of the lease we have. It's simply about aesthetic upgrades and modernization, but it is not in any way intended to be an extensive rebuild. We don't have those rights. The 605 building, we intend to restore it and have been slowly working through the Mass Historic and National Park Service so that ultimately our objective is for the building to be listed on the National Register. And then the 160 building, we intend to knock the existing 20,000-foot building down and develop a new single-story 70,000-foot building. This is a site plan view of the proposed new 70,000 single-story warehouse in place of that existing 20,000-foot. And we would have rooftop car parking on that 70,000-foot building. This gives you an idea of the building in cross-section. Single story with rooftop car parking, and that car parking would be solely for employees of the 160 building itself and potentially employee parking of the 580 building as well, if necessary. Zooming in now on the 605 building, one of the things we heard when we started presenting our concepts going back several years is that this building, there was a desire to see it restored and preserved. And that is what led us to work through the Mass Historic process. But we're looking to do it in a way that preserves an industrial use at the building. And our intention is to create within the ground floor what is essentially a vehicle maintenance and repair facility. Most of our tenants currently, historically, and we believe into the future, will be airport-related companies. From logistics to catering, duty-free, all of the support services that are critical for the operation of an airport. This is essentially a sophisticated vehicle repair facility. The tugs and the dollies that are used at the airport every day, mission critical equipment, and given the nature of the 605 building, where it's ground level, limited doors for access, we believe it would work for that use. In addition to restoring the building, we intend to restore the pier around the building that originally existed, fell into disrepair, was removed at some point, and we think at least 20 years ago, perhaps longer. Our intention is to restore it, and this would be a publicly accessible pier. It's really not something that would be necessarily used or needed, I should say, by tenants of the building itself. But we believe as part of this historic preservation that we should restore the pier. And it would connect to Chelsea Street Chelsea Bridge and Chelsea Street is our vision. On the second floor of the 605 building, we would have a small amount of mezzanine office space, about 5,000 feet. So this is it in cross section. And this is a rendering from inside the 605 building at second floor mezzanine space. This is a rendering taken from the Chelsea Street Bridge of the 605 building in the foreground, and then the 160 building behind it. We have not started the formal permitting process for any of this. Probably the first building that we will start the formal process on is 605 with a filing with MIPA, the state permitting process. And we intend to start that state process later in the month of May. This is a rendering of primarily the 160 building. You see 605 here. And this is from the McClellan Highway perspective. We would hope to start the BPDA Article 80 process and the state MIPA process within by the middle of the summer on what you're looking at. Another image of the 605 building here. Now we're moving up McClellan Highway further north to the properties that we own along Boardman Street, I should say, and McClellan Highway. We've got 5 existing 1980s vintage single-story industrial buildings Again, all occupied by airport-related uses. And then the existing airport park and fly operation, which is a 702 space park and fly operation that's been there since about 1975. Our concept for redevelopment would be to develop a parking garage on what is a surface lot on the 440 property here. And in that garage, we would move the existing airport park and fly operation, which is here, along with employee parking for both on-site 440 and 480 tenants and tenants of our proposed new industrial building here. So our concept is to consolidate employee parking and park and fly into this one garage. This is more of a focus in on the redevelopment of the 230 through 370 property. This would be a 2-story, 580,000 square foot industrial building. We would have a separate 100,000 foot self-storage building, and then a small retail parcel consistent with the Dunkin' Donuts, I'm sorry, the Starbucks that we have at the corner. In addition to this proposal, Boardman Street on this side of McClellan Highway, so that is Boardman from McClellan essentially to the water, is not a public street. It is actually part of the property that we control. And our plan in connection with this overall approvals would be to dedicate a portion of Boardman to create a permanent public access to, well, as close as we can get to the water, which would be an access point here to the Mass DOT right of way. As some of you may know, Mass DOT is undertaking a what they call the Route 1A corridor-wide study of how to use this property. We previously put forth an idea to create an extension of the Coughlin bypass on a portion of this property, along with a harbor walk, pedestrian walkway, bike path, and climate resiliency features on this right-of-way. That is this Mass DOT process is separate from us completely. Our concept would be to create this public connection to that property, but to the extent it connects to something, that would depend on what, if anything, ultimately happens with that Mass DOT property. We would certainly like to think an ultimate connection to something here would happen, but that I would say is in the future and certainly beyond anything that we control. So focusing in on our concept for this 2-story industrial building, so approximately 230,000 square foot footprints, first floor, second floor, with the potential for rooftop car parking. You see the self-storage building here, and then the small retail parcel next door. This is it in cross-section. Current zoning on our property is 55 feet. We would look to obtain approval to go to 70 feet, which is the proposed height of this 2-story industrial building. And this is, see the 2-story industrial here, self-storage, and the small retail parcel. These are renderings of what that building could look like. As I described, we have not started the formal permit process for any of this. This remains very much conceptual, but we would hope to be able to start that formal process towards the end of this year. This is a view from McClellan and Boardman, existing above, and then the proposed building behind. And this is a close-up on 440 and 480 McClellan. This is this existing surface lot that serves tenants of the project, and we would propose to develop a parking garage there to serve those tenants, the tenants of the adjacent development, and then the park and fly business. And these are some, again, very early conceptual renderings of what this garage would look like. In addition, or as part of this whole development, we are very focused on introducing sustainability features to everything we do. And part of that is truck electrification. When you look at and think about warehouses, about 80% of the greenhouse gases emitted actually are connected to the transportation, the trucking. Hence, truck electrification is potentially hugely beneficial. We have already made that commitment with respect to our 440 building, and we are working with Eversource to bring in the power necessary for those truck charging stations. And we would certainly be doing that in the balance of our properties in connection with this overall development. We understand traffic is a significant issue and concern of the community and stakeholders. We have done a full-blown traffic analysis, and we'll certainly present that as part of the formal process and certainly prepared to discuss that in greater detail. In summary, this is an image of AM peak hour traffic. And what you see is red is existing traffic on McClellan Highway. Green is the projections from the Suffolk Downs development, and black are the projections from what our development would generate. Essentially, given the volumes of traffic on McClellan Highway, what would be introduced by our project is very small, and we will document that and help describe how we will address that. This is a PM peak hour perspective. Similar, blue is existing, green is Suffolk Downs projections, and black is what our project would generate. Essentially, with developments like ours, industrial developments certainly focused on the airport, the principal traffic is off peak hour for the various or obvious reason that our tenants don't want to have their trucks and transport vehicles on the roads during peak hour if they don't have to. We have developed a website that can be found at www.ebindustrial.com, which presents the project. We will be providing updates along the way, and a great resource for anyone seeking further details. And that website is both in English and Spanish. And again, we'll be updating it as we progress through the process. So again, we are grateful for the time that you've given us, and I'm happy to answer any questions now or in any subsequent communications. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for the presentation. And I'll just kind of look to see if anybody has any questions. I don't currently see anything in the chat, and I don't see any raised hands yet. Give it another 20 seconds here. People to let us know if they have any questions. Gail, I see your comment. Do you want to just go ahead and speak?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to say it's valuable that we have this presentation, but I would like to kind of echo what has been sort of longstanding thoughts and premises by the community at large, that this is basically airport expansion through a third party. All of your development seems to be focused on airport enhancements, i.e. garages and your tenants. And I think to that extent, that was never our understanding in the community. I see that you're obviously buying all these properties to enhance this endeavor, but like I said, it's been a longstanding vision that this area would certainly be utilized as a natural resource, despite what you're claiming that you are going to try to enhance the resource along the Chelsea Creek. So we've had a different vision than yours for quite a long time, almost 20 years, I'd say. So I think you're going to be somewhat at odds with a lot of the community members that have been active about environmental justice and open space possibilities. And I think, your overall developments here need a better critique on what's really going to be happening and what you're proposing, because as it stands, where you're intersecting with the Mary Ellen Greenway, I know I've said this before, you're proposing to run at least probably 1,500 trucks every day across the Mary Ellen Greenway, unless you've changed this plan since. But that's my understanding of what your proposal was. So you're going to have a great impact at the pedestrian level, air quality and so forth in Day Square. So that alone is a great cluster, because now they're going to intersperse your potential project with the Silver Line's new designs there. And so I think it really needs a wider discussion in the greater community. I have a lot more to say, but I'm going to just pass it on to others who may have some concerns or comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. I don't know if you want to respond, or there's some more questions in the comments.
If I could respond
Sure, of
briefly, and Gail, thank you for your comments. You're not surprising me with what you're saying. Quickly, the chat comment, the lot across the street, I'm assuming that is in reference to the lot next to the Avis parcel. And if that's the case, we are not connected to that lot. I know a little bit about it, but we have nothing to do with it, don't own it, etc. But back to Gail, I believe Gail's comments were focused on this Mass DOT right-of-way property. And yes, we have put forth a vision in the past, but that was then. Nothing in my presentation, in our presentation today, in our work today, involves that property. And while I continue to believe its use as a shared use for transportation, freight movement, commercial traffic, and public access and open space is the right one, I'm one person. And there's a process that's ongoing that we have nothing to do with. And so the presentation that I attempted to convey while we are showing where we intersect with that parcel, nothing what we're proposing is connected to the Mass DOT property. Our vehicles will be on McClellan Highway as they currently are. And I believe that our uses are consistent with uses that have been on our properties for decades. But what that we are going to do is improve those uses through modernizing the buildings, modernizing the properties, truck electrification, a number of other factors. I do understand airport growth is a very complicated matter in this community. And I think while not wanting to comment on the airport itself, I do believe the air traffic at Logan is growing. There was an article as recently as, I believe, yesterday in the Globe on how traffic numbers at Logan have returned to pre-COVID levels. I would suggest having projects and facilities like we are proposing to develop in close proximity to the airport results in less impacts and are more beneficial to the community that surrounds that airport. And I believe the data supports that, since essentially everything that happens in our buildings are driven by the airplanes at Logan itself, and those airplanes are already there. And I would let the data hopefully perhaps convince members of the community as to the benefit of well thought out and appropriate and efficiently developed projects in close proximity.
There's a couple of comments in the chat again from Gail. Do you want to address those, or I can read them out, whichever is easier for you?
I'm happy to. Yes, for the MWRA pump station, we will have to get a Chapter 91 license. I guess the bulk of the properties, or I should say all of the properties from Chelsea Street to the Revere line that are in the DPA, the designated port area, are currently the subject of a boundary review by Coastal Zone Management. That review started last year. We were one of the various property owners that requested of CZM to undertake that review. But separate from that review, we would seek a Chapter 91 license for specifically the MWRA building. And that process has not started, but would later this year. So I'll address the comment on eliminating the DPA. So we believe candidly that the DPA was inappropriately applied to a number of the properties on McClellan Highway from day one. From day one, these properties were separated from the water and not utilized for any marine related uses because they had no direct connection. And given those facts, we don't think it was appropriate then, and we have proposed that they be removed from the DPA, since marine industrial uses are not the same as industrial uses. And while we are focused on industrial development, and as Gail appropriately points out, very much airport related industrial uses, those uses are not, truly marine. And that was the genesis of our request for a consideration of the DPA boundary.
And Gail, did you raise your hand? Did you have something else you wanted to add?
I did. I believe it is curious that you got a Chapter 91 license at your property at 480 at least. And because your trucking traffic was considered to be an auxiliary use under Chapter 91. So I would think you're trying to disband that license and the permit, because that was a DEP finding. And, Mary and I were both the subject of a lawsuit against that property for that reason, obviously. It might not make sense to you, but that's what your license is currently held under, I believe.
If I may respond. So I did not permit the 480 project. That was a predecessor developer who was involved in that lawsuit and obtained a Chapter 91 license based on a theory of intermodal transportation. And the theory was that intermodal transportation, which reflects truck, air, ocean, is, my words, sufficiently marine. And in reality, from the reality that I've seen since 2006 or 5, I should say, when I acquired that property, the only ocean cargo that's ever been there has been on containers trucked from New York and New Jersey. And the reality is it is about airport related uses and always has been. And we do believe it's appropriate to acknowledge that, and we are seeking acknowledgement through the DPA process. I had nothing to do with how it was permitted though from day one. That I inherited.
No, yeah, exactly. You inherited it. So you're still operating under that Chapter 91 license, are you not?
Yes, we are.
And you're still held to it.
Yes, we are.
And there should have been some filings as well as to the amount of activity that was airport related, because there was the nexus to the airport. So I believe that there's some paperwork that should be on file somewhere with all of the activity that has been, prompted out of that site. So that would be interesting to look at. But suffice it to say, it's curious that you're trying to get out from under the Chapter 91 license that you're permitted under.
Well, I believe that this notion of intermodal transportation does not make sense in this day and age. That is,
Well, it might not make sense, but those are the rules that we had to follow. And, you know, we
Yep.
obviously protested that. So you actually are on our side now. However, you're under a different license permitting Chapter 91 license to your outfit, your company there.
well,
So
I think,
that'd be interesting.
Gail, you're also referencing one building, 480.
No, exactly, 480.
And a portion of 480 at that. This magical line runs through part of the building. It doesn't even cover the entire building. So this is, I will say that all of the appropriate filings have been made, will be made, but I do believe, standing back, it is appropriate to look at what was appropriate for properties that have been landlocked since they existed. The rail existed before most of the properties on my earlier aerial were even created by filling in the water. And looking at the historic uses there, you know, what have been actual marine uses, we believe the justification exists. But again, that's a separate process, and my sense is you will be making a comment during the further coastal zone management reviews to come.
Yeah, God willing.
Okay. Any other comments? I don't see anything else in the chat.
Did I miss anything there? Hopefully I did not.
No, I think you had covered everything in the chat.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. I don't see anything else, so we really appreciate it. And thank you for answering everybody's questions.
Well, thank you for the time. Very much appreciate you giving me this.
Sorry, one more question.
Sure.
Does the Hertz property fall under? That's all there is in the chat there.
So if you mean the large Hertz property sort of behind the 440 property, so that I have no, I should say, have no interest in it. It is owned by Hertz. It is part of the DPA though, and it is, I believe it is subject to the review, therefore. I think it is got a different level of characteristics from what I described as, shall we say, our properties that are landlocked. Hertz parcel obviously is not landlocked, but it is part of that review.
Thank you. And again, I don't see anything else in the chat. So again, thank you very much. And I think we'll go ahead and move on with our agenda.
All right. Well, thank you for the time this evening.
And the last thing we have tonight is a vote on 61 Montmorency, adding 318 square feet to an existing home by converting a garage to a bedroom, basically, or a room. And is it Jordan? Is Jordan here?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. You have the floor.
Yeah. Can share my screen here. Hello, so my name is Jordan Matthews, and my wife and I, we live at 61 Montmorency Avenue. We have 5 kids there. Our house is kind of small, 1,200 square feet. We wanted to add one more room to it, which adds about 318 square feet to it, making it 1,500 square feet. This is a current house layout. the garage is on the same level as the basement there. So not changing anything like structurally there. It's just basically adding walls to the garage and insulating it. It's about 13 feet by 24 feet there. My house was denied, or my building permit was denied because they said it exceeds the FAR and is taking away the off-street parking there. However, the FAR would be our lot size is 4,500 square feet. So if our house is 1,540 square feet, the FAR would be, our house would only be covering 33%. So it wouldn't be exceeding the 50%, which is the maximum there. And our off-street parking, I have a picture of, that's our driveway there. And that would be the garage that we want to convert into a room. So we still do have a off-street parking lot there. These are just a proposed of the front there, just taking this garage and converting it, putting a door there and a window there on it. It's a very simple project. I don't have much else to go over there on that. So thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Does anybody have any comments, questions about this project? I see Larry in the comments says looks good. I don't see anything else here. Well, without any other comments, or I don't see any raised hands, so I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat a link to vote for this project. So that should now be in the chat, so everybody can go ahead and vote. Also, please remember to vote, or please remember to sign in. The link has been posted a few times throughout the meeting in the chat. We'll post, Liliana, we'll post the sign-in form one more time for you here. Should be there now. And I see your comment there, Joanne. We'll get to that in 1 second here. So again, make sure that you sign in, make sure you vote. And Joanne, do you want to go ahead and speak, and then I'll have a few closing items here.
Sure. Do you want to go first, or it doesn't matter? But anyway, I'm just going to be very quick. Just inviting all of our Orion Heights neighbors. Stand Up for Eastie is having a meet and greet event on Saturday, May 7th. We're going to be at Rockland Trust, Orion Heights branch from 11 a.m. to 12. And then we're going to go over to Low Presti Park and be there from 1 until 2. I posted it. I posted the sheet, the graphic on the Facebook page for Orion Heights Neighborhood Council. I was going to put it in the chat, but I can't get it to view there. So just if you look at the Facebook page for Orion Heights Neighborhood Council, it is there for more information. So, we're a bunch of us are going to be there just to meet our neighbors, answer any questions, et cetera, et cetera. So we'd love to see you on a nice spring day. All righty. Thanks so much, Noah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Joanne. If you send me that, I can also add that to our meeting minutes so they get sent out to everybody as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And then the last thing of our agenda, just want to also kind of continue to remind people that the OHNC is looking for a new board for the next term, which ends in July. So we're looking for a president, vice president, and secretary. If you're thinking of running, let us know. We're happy to answer any questions. Nominations of our officers will be accepted at the June meeting, the June 20th meeting, and we will have elections on the July 18th meeting. So I'm just trying to give everybody plenty of time to think if they would like to run for the new positions.
I have a question.
Yeah, of course, Gail.
Is this did I miss, or was I unaware of a previous presentation on the 61 Montmorency?
It was at our DRC meeting.
Oh, yeah,
Was
yeah. Was I
presented?
there? I don't even remember that. Okay, maybe I
No.
wasn't there. I think I missed a meeting. I don't know. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, yeah, the question I had, is there still parking available on the driveway, even though you do the basement area over or the garage area over?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
there will be a driveway still.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then just finishing up here, our next meeting for the DRC will be May 5th. And then we have our next OHNC meeting on May 16th. I'll leave everything open for another minute or so if you have any questions for me. Otherwise, thank you very much. Again, don't forget to sign in and to vote in the link. Have a great evening, and thanks so much for coming to the meeting.
Larry, I can't find the link to vote. Hello, 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 hello.
The voting link for the project
Yes,
should be
Where
in the
is-
chat. You may have to scroll up. It should be there. I posted it. I'm happy to
What-
post it again.
what does it read like? Is it
Just
it
just like
form-
a web address
I know, but which one is it? Is it all the
From-
same?
from
There's
the
two different ones.
OHNC. One is for sign in, one is, I'll repost it. Hold on one second.
I mean, I see it, but does it say forms GLE?
Yeah, that should be it.
Oh, okay. All right. These old people and dinosaurs, you know?
It is no problem for us. We are happy to make sure everybody gets to vote.
Well, I'm very glad that you're very sophisticated on this.
I wouldn't say that, but we're doing our best here.
I still don't think I got the right form. It says, fill out the form below. That's about the membership. I mean, the attendance, I think. I don't know. I'm confused here. Let me see. Larry, if you don't mind sending it again, it'll just make my life easier. Maybe others too.
Yeah, I'll direct message it to you.
All right, great.
Hold on one second.
Direct on the chat, right?
Yep, should go right to you.
Oh, dear, dear, dear. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I just was reading that wrong. Okay, gotcha. You know what? I'm not seeing the vote. Oh dear, I don't know. I'm just filling in a form, but I'm not seeing the vote.
Below, it asks for your name, last name, address, and then 61 Montmorency. Yay, nay,
Yeah.
abstain. You don't see that?
Nope. All right, let me go back. Let me go back again. I thought I did the last link, which I thought it was under Tara's name.
That's the
Oh,
sign-in
okay.
form.
All right. Sorry. Okay, now I see your direct message. I'm sorry.
No problem.
All right, let me get there. Should just be a second. Okay, voting. All right. Oh, hallelujah. Okay.
Got
Thanks,
it?
Larry. Yeah, I got it. Doesn't take me too long. Okay.
All
Thanks
righty.
again. All right, so we're signing off, are we?
I'm
everybody?
signing off. Have a good night.
You too. Bye now.
Bye.